What up, guys? Welcome to the Comic Head Comic Book Show. Well, something like that. New comic book day, y'all. My stack's a little thick for this week. It was a good week, man. It was a good week for the most part for comics. And without further ado, let's get into it. I'm starting with Marvel. Venom number 9. I'm behind on my Venom reading. I don't know if I think that's a sign that I'm gonna drop this series at issue number 10. I probably would have dropped it a couple issues ago, but I don't like ending on odd numbers, especially when it's a series that I more or less like. If something's trash, I'll drop it whenever, but I still more or less like the series, but I don't want to drop it at like 7 or 8. I'm gonna just run it through 10, have the 1 through 10, and leave it at that. But Venom number 9. Looks like there's a venomized pit bull here. That kind of reminds me of The Mask, the Jim Carrey Mask movie, when the dog puts the fucking green mask on. I don't know if we got a mask situation going on here, and Eddie Brock's dog is symbioted, but I'll be sure to look into that. I'll keep you posted. Next up, Uncanny number 4. Ex-Jesus in the house. You know what? I wanted to kind of hate on this a little bit, just because I've been really not impressed with the new Uncanny launch, and I don't hate it actually. It's pretty cool. It's an interest. I've never seen this kind of take of, I mean, they're not being subtle about X-Men coming back and being mutant Jesus. It's all pretty on the nose and stuff, but it's kind of fun. I'm into it. I'm a little under the weather today, guys, so this haul is probably going to be pretty short and sweet, but I still wanted to show you guys the goods before I put them away. This is X-Men The Exterminated. I only have this because I was subscribing to Extermination, and when I saw this in my box, I was like, what's this? I was like, I was just unfamiliar. So apparently Extermination has pivoted into a new miniseries, The Exterminated. So I was like, well, okay, I'll see what's up. And after reading this thing, I think this book's gonna get dropped. I'm gonna shoot the LCS an email and say, I'm all set. This issue didn't really do much for me at all, which was sad because it's written by Chris Claremont. Chris Claremont came back and wrote this issue, and man, it's just not my cup of tea. You just get, if you didn't pick it up and you're curious, I'll cut to the chase. I guess either my memory's fucked up or I don't know, because the only reason I was following it is because I wanted to see them just resolve that old 1960s team coming back to modern continuity. And I guess they did that last issue of Extermination. I don't know. But I think they're gone. Cable's dead. And it was just like Jean and Hope going down memory lane. So I don't know. The one positive thing I will say about this book is Deadpool is in the issue. And Hope and Jean run into Deadpool when they're going through Cable's safe houses for memorabilia and shit like that. And man, lately in the past like couple years, I have really not been into Deadpool in comic books. It's one of the few characters that I enjoy him way more in the movies than I do in the comics. Because in the comics, it's just relentless jokes and slapstick and fourth wall breaks, and it just gets old. I feel like the movies, Ryan Reynolds plays it as a real dude, as a real character. It's not always silly Billy time. And Deadpool's in this issue, and as soon as I seen him in the first few panels, every single line of dialogue he had was a joke, and a lame one at that. And I was like, here we go. But it only lasted for a few panels, and then uh, Deadpool was written like an actual dude, you know, not a joke machine, but it was kind of cool, especially considering him, the history that him and Cable have. Like, it was cool, man. It was cool. So leave it to Chris Claremont, you know, who I think he, I think that's a testament to Claremont's writing of he knows the character pretty well from his origin, you know, back in the 90s, 80s and 90s. Well, I think Deadpool was created in the 90s. You get the idea. He did a good job writing Deadpool. But otherwise, I'm going to drop the series. Next up, we're going into DC land. You're going to notice the rest of these books are raw, not bagged, not boarded. And that is not because those 3 Marvel books are special. It's actually just the opposite. Because I just, you know, started switching over to My Lights. My Lights and cameras and lights do not fucking mix, man. So I'm just showing them raw because that glare is just off the hook. So that probably shows you that those those Marvel books this week were not My Light worthy. Very light week for Marvel. DC and Indies, oh my god. This is where this week's comics are off the chain. This is the shit that makes me love comics. Doomsday Clock, 8/12. Good issue, man. I'm really liking this series. I guess them being raw has the benefit of I'm able to open them. This page was awesome. You get a cameo from Putin, and you get Superman versus Putin in the book, which is pretty funny. Red Sun vibes. Dope. Very happy with this series. Gary Frank, that dude's art is incredible. I feel like DC has the 2 best interior artists in the game right now. Gary Frank, Clay Mann. This book is awesome. You just tell you have quality in your hands with the cardstock of the cover and the whole 9. Like, this is just a quality ass book. Granted, it's $4.99, which isn't great, but personally, I think it's worth the $4.99. Boom, Doomsday Clock, and it ends on a really cool note. But one thing I was not happy about is I only got this cover, but the variant cover has like an image of Superman and Dr. Manhattan kind of being like puppeted against each other by Ozymandias. And spoiler alert, Dr. Manhattan doesn't show up for a single frame or panel of this book, so I felt like it was a little clickbaity. Next up, Deathstroke number 8. The cover that everyone has been drooling over. It is a nice cover. Oddly enough, it's not my favorite one. I definitely dig it. I'm not losing my mind over it, though. I've heard many people say, best Mattina cover he's put out, period. You know, I don't know about that. I still feel like the Deadpool issue that has the whole Rogues Gallery on it is probably his best work. But, I mean, this thing is fire. I definitely get it. The interesting design. The way that guy draws Two-Face is like, man, on another level. If they could just grab that and put it onto a movie screen, that's the Two-Face I want to see. Holy shit. I can really only comment on the cover here because I didn't read the interior yet. That's been the case for this Deathstroke series. I've read a couple of the issues, but I'll admit that it's not the interior content that's bringing me to pick up Deathstroke every month. I mean, it's Mattina, you know what I mean? So, Deathstroke 38. Bang. We're staying in the Bat family. Red Hood. Red Hood, number 29. Yasmin Putri. Hot fire. Love this cover. Story's pretty cool. Actually, Yeah, this story's alright. I mean, it's moving a little slow, but my one comment that I'll make here, let me grab this. One thing I'll say about Red Hood is, man, the new design of this costume is just off the hook, man. I really enjoy that. Look at that. Sick. Sick. I sound like our boy. Look at that. Walking away from explosions in true Hollywood fashion. But man, I'm really digging the character design. That definitely was an improvement from, the old style where it was just like a solid red helmet with a brown jacket kind of thing. I'm glad they redesigned it, because man, when I look back on the old suit, I'm like, oh my god, it makes me think that suit was so lame now that I look at it in comparison to the new one. So I'm really digging Red Hood's new suit. Kudos to that designer, man. That's, whew. Let's remain in the Bat family. Batman number 60. I do have the Mattina cover coming. I ordered that one on Midtown in advance for whatever reason. So I didn't pick it up at the comic shop. But with Batman, I'm a huge Batman fan. I'm a big fan of this Tom King run. So I generally grab both covers, the A and B for the main Batman line. And plus, I really dig these covers. There's some weeks where I prefer this. I forget the artist. Hang on. Michael Janine. Michael Janine is the cover artist who's doing the A covers for Batman. And there's been a couple weeks where I prefer the Janine cover to the Mattina. These are nothing to fucking sneeze at, dude. So this was a great read. Tom King is doing his thing on Batman, and if you guys haven't read this, ooh-wee. The last page, the surprise ending, the surprise cameo event at the end of this book. Oh man, I can't wait to pick up the next issue. If you guys have read this book, you know what I mean. I'm going to stay spoiler free. But even before that moment happens, you're getting like really cool dynamic between Alfred and Penguin, because Penguin is held captive like in the Batcave. He's blindfolded, so he can't see Alfred, but Alfred is kind of his captor, and they're chatting, and like the casual dialogue between those two characters is like, it's so well done. And it's because they're both kind of like aristocratic, high class type of guys, like they're talking poetry and philosophy and stuff. And it's a very interesting dynamic. I've never thought about the parody between those two characters, Alfred and Penguin. And like, yeah, you can tell, I just really dug this issue. Last up for DC, Martian Manhunter, number 1, Middleton. Middleton the God. This cover is crazy, sick, excellent, whatever you want to call it. Man, what tremendous artwork on this thing. I can't get over it, how awesome this cover is. Especially with a character with like a real unique look like Martian Manhunter. Really happy with that. You'll know, if you read the issue, you'll notice that the town that he works in, that he's a cop in, is Middleton. I think Colorado. Middleton, Colorado. So I don't know if that's a shout out to our boy Middleton or not, but boom. The interior story of this book didn't do a whole lot for me. It's written by Steve Orlando. That's the dude who's writing Electric Warriors, who I did enjoy Electric Warriors, but this one, I'm not sure if I'm going to continue to pick it up. This might just be an issue number 1 buy for me. Okay. I have indie stuff last. Self-made number 1. There was a lot of indie number 1s. Self-made number 1. Pretty cool. I won't go too long about this one, but would I recommend it? It wasn't the best one. Definitely not the best image book of the week, but it was cool. It was cool. I can see where they're going with it. You know, as you can see, there's like a little portal thing here. You know, I would just say that there's some like Westworld vibes going on here, and it's interesting. I will, I will consider picking it up next time, but I'm not sure. The Freeze, I had to pick up the Freeze just because the concept sounded really weird, and kind of interesting. It's like this game of freeze tag. I guess some moment happens, the whole world is frozen, as in all the people freeze, which is very chaotic. Planes fall out of the sky, cars crashed, yada yada yada. And there's this one guy who has the ability to unfreeze people when he touches them. Should I say spoiler alert? I don't know. I'm just giving you the plot. I mean the general synopsis. And he has to, when he touches the dudes, he unfreezes them, which it sounds like a very simple premise at face value, but I see what the writers are getting at of like it really is. It really does have potential in a cool like I don't know if Walking Dead vibe or dynamic is the right word, but you know the most interesting aspect of this story to me is basically one person has the decision of who he's going to unfreeze and who he's going to keep frozen. So it's basically if the whole world is frozen and you could basically hand pick the humans that you're going to start your little civilization with, who you going to pick, who are you not? What are going to be the consequences of picking this guy and that guy? How do they affect the dynamic? So that part of it sounds interesting to me, and that part of it is what will likely have me grab issue number 2. Next up, Ogre number 2, Source Point Press. This is a low print run, kind of a scarce book to find. I have my issue number 1 as we speak is probably in Canada by now. The artist of this book, Sean Daly, is I reached out to him to do a couple commission covers for me, because his art is cool. This is his artwork on the cover, and he has like this cool kind of like cartoony vibe, but man, I think I was seeing it like on Tumblr or something. When he applies this style to like superheroes, it is sick, man. It's really good. It's really good. So check him out if you haven't, Sean Daly. So I sent him 2 sketch covers. I can't wait to show you when those things come back. I'm not sure how long it's going to take, but he's in Canada, so I had to pay international to send it to him. But tell me this doesn't sound sick. I sent him a blank cover of Fantastic Four, and I asked him to draw me a big Galactus head on it. Oh! And then I sent him a blank cover of Street Fighter, like a Street Fighter Unlimited or something, number 1, but a blank Street Fighter cover. And for that one, I said, hey, just you choose which Street Fighter character you want to do. Just make sure it's one of the classic OG characters and not one of these new ones. And he said, okay, I got you. He chose Blanca, which got me pumped. I was like, hell yes, that is the right answer. So he chose Blanca. So yeah, I got those sketch covers coming back, and I kind of slipped in. I didn't ask him ahead of time, but I'm sure it's fine. In those 2 books, I slipped in my copy of Ogre number 1. I'm like, hey, thanks, man, for the commission. By the way, if you wouldn't mind just throwing your little John Hancock on my number 1 issue, that would be much appreciated. So that's in the works. It's only a 3-issue miniseries, so I look forward to having a 3-issue set of Ogre with number 1 signed by Sean Daly with a couple sketch commission covers too. So that's my story about Ogre. Last book. I saved the best for last. Holy shit. Holy shit. Die number 1. Holy shit. This book is fire. This book is excellent. There is so much that I like about this book. I don't want to make this video much longer than it is, but so I'm not going to go into every little thing that I loved about it. But goddamn, I'm not even a Dungeons and Dragons guy. I've never played a game of Dungeons and Dragons. I didn't, play it growing up or anything. But I knew enough that the world isn't foreign to me, die being dice, and how this little design here is like a dice unfolded, if you made a dice out of paper, origami style, and you just unfolded everything, it would look like that. The cover is awesome. The interior story is excellent. And the interior art, there's one page particularly that I want to highlight, the big splash page. Man, it's like a painted, it kind of reminds me of like Phil Noto and Daredevil type of painted style. There's not a lot of bold black outlines on everything. It's kind of just painted. Damn, really good. And one thing's for sure is, as I'm reading this, I can just picture the movie, or depending on where it goes, the television show, as I'm reading it. I feel like I'm watching a show as I was reading this issue. So, I don't know. Someone would be crazy not to turn this into Netflix. If Stranger Things type of story was able to catapult into being a successful show, this Die number 1, or this Die series, is totally primed for that. So that's it, guys. All right, this is like 20-something minutes. Thanks for watching, man. I really appreciate it. I'll catch you next time. Hasta luego, muchachos.